Welcome to another edition of the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce News and Views Show. I'm your host, Diane Sawyer, President and CEO of the Reidsville Chamber. Today, I'm very excited to continue our Meet the Board Member series, and I have with us Jennifer Lester.
Hello.
Thank you for being here, Jennifer. And I believe I told you before we started the show that this would be a wear many hats, because you, my friend, do wear many hats. Sure. But your position on the board is with your full-time job, the paying full-time job, the main hat that has a lot of titles, with our local Rockingham Community College.
Correct.
So tell us, because I'm going to mess it up, because I feel like it changes a lot as you just continue to blossom and grow and add more stuff to your the more feathers in your cap. So tell us what you're doing currently.
Sure, I'd love to. My current position at RCC is Director of Corporate Education and Training, and so I have the pleasure of working with a small team who focuses on topics like small business services, our trails and environmental planning and development programs, apprenticeship, which is definitely one of my favorite pieces that I've worked with over the last few years. And then also we serve as liaison for business and industry to RCC and our other program areas. So I love to work with business and industry. I love to be able to help support their training needs, to help develop our workforce in a whole variety of ways.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is.
I knew it was going to be. We're just so thankful to be lots of things, right? Well, one of those is to be out of what was a crazy time of the pandemic and being not together and not doing these kinds of things, this going out into the workplace. And it's still, limited in a lot of ways. As we are sparking, everybody's talking about the flu and COVID, and sick season is just among us, and along with the fall allergies and trying to navigate what that looks like in a new normal world. And I think that you are doing a phenomenal job in getting the word out about the services and the things that you offer. One of those is helping to bring on our new Small Business Center director, and he is really getting out and shaking things up and doing his job. Tell us a little bit about that as that connects to us and how that works.
Sure. Well, we are thrilled to have Randy Hunt as our Small Business Center Director at RCC. He has come on board just ready to go. He is working very hard to provide all sorts of services to entrepreneurs, small business owners, from small business counseling. There are free counseling services. We have a resource center that they can come use at RCC. They can schedule time with him. He's running classes for small business owners and for new entrepreneurs. He's out making connections and helping them find resources. And so there's so many things, so many exciting things that I think we're doing in that area, and we'll continue to grow as well. And again, developing those partnerships in our community with the chambers and the county and all of these different pieces to help support our entrepreneurs and our small business owners in our county. Lots of exciting things.
It really is, because I don't think that people understand that it is there. It is a state resource that is placed in each one of our communities.
Definitely.
And I mentioned it at our November Coffee and Connections that, and Randy was there, and I just said, due to unfortunate circumstances, pandemic, people with illnesses, people with terminal illnesses, we just haven't had anybody in that role in so long to be able to do what he was doing at that event, which was to be out with people, networking, and getting feedback. And he often stops by and asks, what are your members looking for? What are we doing right now? We've talked a little bit about having office hours here, which has always been a thing at the Reidsville Chamber. Ever since we built out our SCORE center, and those offices were always meant for that very thing.
Sure.
So excited to think what that might look like.
Definitely.
And partnering with our other chambers, and him kind of having a rotating schedule, kind of boots on the ground right in the downtown area. But also just, my goodness, like, we knew before we started this show that we could talk for 2 hours about all the amazing things that you all do. But I want to highlight a few. I know that the apprenticeships is something that we talk about a lot.
Yes.
So you and I have covered that in a lot of other areas, and we can hit on that. But I would really like to talk about some of the specialized education programs that you do and how that works for the businesses and industry, because I don't know that people know, if they're listening, whether it's via podcast or if they're actually watching the show, like, tell us how that can work for a business or an industry.
Sure. There are several options, right? And again, we talked about state programs earlier. We have a state program. It's called the Customized Training Program. And that is a program at all of our 58 community colleges. So we service our surrounding area. And in that program, it's specifically for certain industries like manufacturing. But within that, if a manufacturer or if the related industry meets the eligibility requirements, then we can set up a training plan for them. We call it a project, and they outline the training that they think their employees will need over the next 2 to 3 years. We can put a project proposal together, apply to the state, and see if we can help pay for their training within that time frame. And they can apply for continued projects if, again, they're still meeting that eligibility requirement. So that's a great way to take advantage of the incentives from the state and that money that's there to help with training to further their employees.
I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Is there a specific example that has been done or that you're working on that you could tell us about so that we could kind of put that together?
Sure. So right now I'm working with an industry in Eden, and I'm not going to say who it is.
No,
just for,
absolutely not.
But one of the things that we're working on, for example, is some leadership training. So we just did a leadership toolkit training with some of their staff. That was a 5-week training for a couple hours once a week that we did with some of their management. They're doing some third-party training on specific software that they're using that we're helping set up and helping pay for. They're doing some auditing training and some I believe they're going to be doing some continuous improvement training. And, some companies we work with might do Excel and Word or Lean Six Sigma development for their individuals. Or, it might be something like OSHA 10 training, helping that safety component, help people understand more about the safety needed in their environment. So there's just a whole host of opportunities and examples that are available. I mean, we've done, I'm trying to think, fall protection and overhead crane training and forklift training and just a whole host of things that can be available.
Do you find that currently a lot of the businesses and industries are needing more specialized training for those things because there's such a shortage of employees that they're just trying to get an abled and willing bodied person who fits their minimum qualifications, and they're willing to just on the job train them to do whatever it is they need them to do. But if they are physically capable and willing to show up and willing to accept what they're offering, that they're having to train on all the other things. Because I would imagine
Most
that's
definitely.
what's happening.
Yeah, and we've talked to several different companies who've said, if we can just get somebody who has those soft skills that we talk about all the time, they're dependable, they're punctual, they have integrity, they know how to communicate with others, all of those things.
They know when to put their cell phone away.
They know when to put their cell phone away, yes. All of those things that, we think should be common knowledge, common sense, right? But but they're lacking quite a bit in our workforce right now. So many industry representatives have said to us, if we could just find the people that have those soft skills that we could depend on to be here, we can teach them the other things, right? Or we can get them training on the other things. So many of our business and industry are willing to help their people get the training that they need, further themselves so that they can develop as an employee. And I think that's exciting. I do want to say, though, if a company is not eligible for the customized training incentives from the state, there are a lot of other ways to help get training for their individuals as well. And, we can set up an individual class for a company, again, on a whole variety of topics. I would just say reach out, let us know what you need. And there's also resources in our community to help pay for those. I would, not to put the Workforce Development Board on the spot, but the Workforce Development Board sometimes has funding to help pay for on-the-job training for employees. So if you don't meet the requirements for the state customized training, there could still be some opportunity.
Do you find that people honestly at this point still just do not know what a resource our local community college can be, both on a local level from who the people are all the way to the fact that it's a part of the state community college system. And they think of it as just, we talked about this many years ago. I was part of the marketing team that rebranded it, and even then it still didn't go as far as it needed to, that they just see it as a second option if they, it didn't make it to 4-year school, or that they see it as just for kids who've just graduated. They don't see it for adult learners. They don't see it for the business and industry resources that there are. It's kind of mind-blowing to me what exists on your campus and how we're not taking advantage of it.
Right, and I think you're right. I think a lot of it is people are not fully aware of what we do offer. So we've been trying to get the word out a little bit more. We've been trying to be very visible and vocal about what we can do and what we, can at least try to do. So I'm hoping that tide will start changing. I was looking at some of the numbers the other day and looking at the comparison of individuals who are coming to us for a degree, like for a curriculum program, versus individuals who are coming for professional development, continuing education type programs. And it was interesting to me that the age range of the individuals that are coming for more continuing education and professional development is higher, obviously, than those that are coming for a curriculum program. So I would like people to know that it's never too late to up your skills, however you want to do it, whether it's continuing education, whether it's curriculum programs, whether it's taking some training so you can go on to a 4-year school, or you can just go straight into the workforce. There are a ton of opportunities.
Or just if you have a hobby or that you want to know more about or learn more about.
Most definitely.
I'll never forget being a small child and going with my mother and my grandmother, she was my mother, and her mother-in-law was my dad's mom, and my great aunt, her sister, and they were going to an upholstery class, and they were learning how to reupholster like recliners. Cool. And of course that would have been late 80s maybe. It had to have been, because I wasn't that old. And I remember that they covered like a wingback chair, or I remember them having a recliner over on its face, and the springs sticking out and all the stuffing, and I remember them recovering those, and that was their project or whatever. And I just think about, like, you don't always really hear about people doing that. Like you see the sipping wines, or we've got the workshop now with the Trading Post or Eclectic Visions. You've got different people offering like just a fun roundabout way. Used to do those all the time, like a craft day, but you don't see people going through a class where they're learning legitimately like how to do the art of X, Y, and Z. And of course there's YouTube, and there's TikTok, and all kinds of things that you can go and try to teach yourself. But to me, like, for somebody who's visual and somebody who's hands-on and wants to touch things, I'm hoping, right, that one day when my 3 small children are older and I have more mom time, that I can do
Me too.
some of those kinds of things.
Me too.
And I just think that that's really cool. I think there's a niche of, so like for the chamber, we have 4 employees and some contractors or small nonprofits. And I've noticed that the Reidsville Area Foundation has picked up with this and has lots of plans to help support our nonprofits. But for those smaller businesses who maybe don't qualify for that customized training or that industry, like what options are there for them? Maybe they're not quite what Randy has available, and they're maybe not quite what customized. What do you say to them when they say, well, I just don't know how to make this work? What should they do?
Sure. I mean, I definitely say reach out to us. At the college, we pride ourselves in really working to strengthen our partnerships in the community, right? So if it's not something that we can help with, we can help refer to another organization, whether it's a chamber or, maybe it's vocational rehabilitation or it's economic development or it's the workforce development board or the next gen services, whatever it is. We do have those partnerships and we can help refer if it's not something that we can do for them. But again, if there's a smaller company and for whatever reason the small business services are not what they're needing, we always welcome them to put employees through classes we already have scheduled. So if they don't have enough employees to make a full class themselves, they can drop an employee into a class that we already have going on and let them have that training in that capacity. But just give us a call because we can talk through it. We can talk through all the options. We can help figure out, where to go and how to do it, and happy to be that person. So.
I was putting you on the spot on purpose.
Okay.
And you passed with flying colors, as always. I think that in this day and age, people aren't trained as much on just picking up the phone and calling somebody. They want to send an email or send a text or look on social media. And I want people to understand that just very much like the chamber, the people are the resource. And if you have any need to just pick up the phone and give a call and say, hey, like this is what's happening, and your team's going to figure it out.
Yes.
And I think that's important because nothing's the same.
Right.
Everything's different and everything's new, and we're all struggling to figure this out. And, I'm finally feeling like, as we're coming to the close of 2022, off of several successful events that we've brought back, going, I think in 2023, I'm going to be able to publish a list, and it's going to happen that way. And it's so exciting. And so I think it's the same, right? Like you all, like the apprenticeships, like that was a struggle to maneuver that program through the pandemic, and
it was.
The best interest of the student and obeying like requirements that were coming down from other places and the state to the school system, but then whatever the employer was requiring and trying to make all that mesh, and oh my goodness, right? So now we get to talk about the fun stuff, and we get to talk about signing ceremonies and graduation ceremonies, and you just had the very first class.
So excited.
Like a little baby, right? Like a little baby and graduated. So tell us about it. Like, how did that go, and what's the whole process, and why are we so pumped about it?
Sure. So with Rockatop is the Rockingham Apprenticeship and Technical Opportunities Partnership. It's such a mouthful. But within Rockatop, there are several different programs, and one of those is Rockatop Apprenticeship. And I do want to say that that's not the only apprenticeship opportunity in our county. So if there's a company that maybe doesn't fit with Rockatop and wants to talk about apprenticeship, happy to have those discussions. But Rockatop is an amazing opportunity. So with Rockatop, it takes the students about 4 to 5 years to fully complete the program, because apprenticeship combines formal education with on-the-job training, okay? And that program specifically is designed to be about 8,000 hours. And what the state says is that for every 2,000 hours of on-the-job training, that equals about a year. Okay, so that's a mouthful just to say it's about a 4-year program. So these students who just graduated started in August of 2018 as full registered apprentices, and this summer they graduated, and they're no longer apprentices. They're journeymen and journeywomen in their respective occupations. They've got that Department of Labor credential, that journey worker credential. They hopefully have a career at a company that they've grown up in now for the last 4 years. Some of them are leading departments within the company that they just started at 4 years ago as an apprentice. And so we couldn't be more proud of them. They've got their associate degree done. Some of them are going on to bachelor's degrees, to engineering school. And again, we're just thrilled for them. We could not be more happy. So this summer was the first summer that we graduated a group. We had 11 that finished it and 17 new students who signed on to be apprentices and start their 4 to 5 year journey. So.
Would you call that a success?
Huge success. There's a lot of people that worked really, really hard to get those students through that program, not to mention the students themselves, you know.
What does that mean for our future? What does that mean for what you were able to do with that project? Like in layman's terms, like what does that all break down to?
Well, I think it's an amazing example of, again, community partnership, right? There were so many organizations that worked together to make this happen. And it's not one organization's baby, right? We all came together and we all helped to make this make it a success. So, so to me, it's a great example of us coming together and persevering and helping to grow our workforce, because this is an opportunity for business and industry to take young people and really mold them into tomorrow's leaders for their companies, right? So they're growing a workforce. The students are learning valuable lessons about how to be a good employee, how to do life, how to be an adult. Their mentors are helping mold them into even, you know, how to do life, how to adult, which is difficult, you know.
Have you figured that out yet?
Sure haven't.
Yeah, me neither. Okay,
nope.
Just checking.
No, but they get good training on things like, you know, some of the companies are doing classes on taxes and financial literacy and
That's the key
mental
for
health
me.
And, you know.
That's the key for me. I think that it goes back to showing them that there are things that they can do, that they can make a really good living, but showing them how to adult, right? Like showing them that the budget matters and that what they do with their money and keeping them on a path that keeps them out of trouble, because that money's burning a hole in their pockets.
I mean, some of them have already bought houses, they've bought new vehicles, they're getting married, and, you know, they have no debt because they have no debt, and it's amazing. It's amazing to see. But I also think it's very neat to see that, you know, some of these kids could have very easily have gone to Chapel Hill or NC State or Duke or UNCG or wherever they wanted to go. And they're still getting that opportunity, right? Because now their company is helping pay for them to go on and get a bachelor's degree if that's what they want to do. So it's not a mutually exclusive thing. It's not college or I'm going to go to work. It combines the best of both worlds, and they're still getting all those opportunities, which I think is really cool.
It is really cool. Yeah. Well, before we completely wrap up, we've got a few minutes left, and I want to go back to the Meet the Board Member piece.
Okay.
So tell us about you and where you're from, and as much as you want to share with your family and personal interest and other things you're involved in.
Sure. So I grew up in Central Virginia and lived there most of my life. Have a great family that is spread out between there and Tennessee and different places. My husband and I moved to Reidsville in, I think, 2007. We had just been married a year, and he worked in Danville and I worked at UNCG. So we were right in the middle, and we've been here ever since. We have a son, and we have children the same age, which is fun. But yeah, we like it here. We like the small town life here. We like the connections and the friendships and the relationships that we made here. Excited to be on this board because, it's expanding those connections, it's expanding those relationships, and I'm learning so much about what's happening in our community and all the really cool things. Like yesterday, we went to the groundbreaking for the all-inclusive playground, which I'm thrilled is coming to Reidsville. And we're also making partnerships like, we have other board members who are teaching small business classes for us and things like that. So I don't know, it's just very exciting to have this opportunity and to be able to help grow the workforce in our community in so many different ways with so many different connections. So I'm thrilled that I am a board member. So thank you for letting me be a board member.
Well, I think that also with our board, we've been intentional, right, about trying to make sure that people genuinely cared about the community and about the chamber and about our members, and that we were bringing on folks who we felt like would help us grow because they were intent to grow and not be stagnant. And so we are thankful to have so many different opinions and people who continue to show up and continue to have input and to challenge us and to say, what are we doing to make Reidsville a better place to live, to do business, to operate all of these things together in a great little thing. So thank you for being a part of that.
Thank you for having me.
And is there anything you want to share, like personal interest or other things about your job at RCC or other hats you wear? Or
Well, let me think. I think personal interest wise, family is one of the most important things to me. We like being involved in our church. We like being involved in the community. I love building relationships. And so to tie that back into RCC, I would say, again, if you have a question, just call. Happy to help, happy to kind of work through options with people. Even if it's not something that I can help with, happy to get them in the right place if possible. So don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to hear from you, and just let's see what RCC can do for you.
So, fun fact,
Okay.
you have 2 animals.
I do have 2 animals, yeah.
Please tell us about your animals.
So my first one is my goofy dog, who we highly adore, but he, bless him, one too many head injuries for that poor dog. I love him so much. We also have a very grumpy hedgehog who, again, I adore, but he's like a grumpy old man. That's what my sister and I refer to him as a little grumpy old man, because he is not a people hedgehog, but he's getting there. We're gonna get there. We're gonna connect, but we adore them. So life is interesting. The hedgehog does not like the dog. The dog wants to play with the hedgehog all the time. So you can imagine how that goes.
And tell us a story about the hedgehog.
Well, I'm not entirely sure if you're thinking about a specific story or not that I can't remember, but I will say...
Well, how he came to pass.
Oh, like how he came to... Okay, so if you don't know about it already, there's an amazing organization called Red Dog Animal Rescue. And several years ago, my husband and I had seen a hedgehog on their website, and we contemplated too long, and he was gone. I've always wanted a hedgehog. I think they're fascinating. But I happened to be at... I want to say it was the Colin Ray show at the Reidsville Showcase, and we were sitting with a lady who we were just chatting, and turns out she worked for Red Dog Animal Rescue. And I told her the story about the hedgehog that we missed out on, and she said, well, we have a hedgehog right now who needs a home. So in the middle of the Colin Ray show, I'm texting my husband, like, they have a hedgehog. I need a hedgehog. Like, how are we going to make this happen? And so we ended up adopting this hedgehog from the Red Dog Animal Rescue. Interesting note, hedgehogs are not legal in every state. They are here in North Carolina, but I think his previous owners had moved to a state where they're not legal. So that's how we ended up blessed with Freddie. His name is Freddie, the grumpy hedgehog.
Yeah, I just thought it was cool because I remember
him.
It was, and again, being at the Colin Ray show at the Reidsville Showcase.
It's all about connections.
It really is all about connections, and you finally got your hedgehog.
Finally have my hedgehog.
I'm going to take a little bit of credit for that because had you not been on the board, had we not been meeting, had I not said, Jennifer,
Yeah,
we're going to the
that's
Colin Ray
exactly right.
concert, and we bought them as tickets
That's exactly
for
right.
Christmas presents
We
for
did.
people in our family.
We did,
And we
yeah.
went to the Colin Ray show, and now you have a hedgehog. I
So,
love it.
Yeah. So thank you, actually.
You are
I love
welcome.
it.
Oh,
Like
Freddie.
my fairy godmother. Just
Yeah. I wish, because I do feel like a lot of people think they can come and see me and I'm going to level one. But well, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for
having
being just an amazing asset to our board and to our community. And thank you for all the hats you wear. We obviously didn't get into that, but you wear a lot of volunteer hats, and we're thankful for you.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. Well, that's it for today's show. As always, you can find us in the heart of downtown Reidsville at 140 South Scale Street. You can find us on all of our social media channels, and you can contact us at 336-349-8481. And that's it for today's show, but stay tuned for more.